Alex,
Um,
there's times in life where it feels good to be right. And there's times in life where, you feel warranted and justified. But to all the listeners and everybody who was saying he doesn't know what he's talking about, I got four words for you. I told you so. It was gonna happen, ladies and gentlemen. I was talking about this shit years ago that they're gonna go third party mainly, and I gained up traction just because I wanted Starfield. So I just brought it to reality in the universe. I've snowballed Starfield on PlayStation into the universe, and the universe threw back saying, "You can have all of it. You can have all of it, not just Starfield." I was like, "Oh shit, okay, cool." But I mean, Al, where do you start on this? I mean, we're here, we're talking about the potential of Xbox games coming to PlayStation with a big business update event next week from Xbox. Your thoughts?
all right, then. Well, one name for you. Japanese publisher now, Sega. Yeah, we've seen this before. We've seen this echo in the past. Was it 2001 that
Mm.
they went into publishing?
Yep.
Are we just seeing history repeat itself? They came out with the Dreamcast, which I thought was a very strong console. It was great for arcade games, and it had a decent following, but obviously the competition was smacking it to, six ways from Sunday. So I think Xbox might be following the same path because this generation has not been the greatest for the brand. And
Mm.
even though these are only like rumors at the moment, who knows, man? Who knows what they're gonna say next week? It's just
Well,
gonna be
I
very
mean,
interesting.
what the pivot in the wrench is, I was always thinking something about what if it's not, what if they pivot and they say, actually, no. And then Millie Amand on Twitter X tweeted a joke tweet saying, I can imagine Phil Spencer coming on stage and doing a WWE heel turn and saying, actually, no, we're not releasing anything on anything. And I was like, huh, that's kind of
Well,
funny.
like
Even though
like
she
a
said,
Wolf of
I'm
Wall
only
Street moment.
joking, even when she goes, yeah, like Wolf of Wall Street, and even though she says, I'm only joking, you then get Phil's statement that says, we're listening and we hear you. Now, Alex, what has he been listening to? Again, a big reaction to this story has got fanboys going crazy, especially the Xbox side. And rightfully so, but at the same time, it's your own fault, right? They have invested their time and they have chosen their brand, which is Xbox, and there's people who have invested time and have chosen PlayStation. There's people who have invested time and chosen Nintendo. There's people that have chosen Steam, right? They feel hurt now because they've gone through years and years of hardships. We're talking PS3 beginning generation hardships. We're talking Nintendo Wii U hardships. We're talking the worst of the worst, but for Xbox, they just seem to get it over and over again as gamers, promised first party titles. And this is why you need to stay on Xbox. And, this is our brand. You're a part of our community. And they've engaged with that community, which is hurting them a lot more now, and we're seeing Xbox community members that are threatening to boycott the brand altogether.
Yeah.
You've obviously been online and you saw all this. What's your thoughts on all that side of things?
Yeah, well, Mr. Spencer is very accessible in it. And I think what's a lot of Xbox fanboys feel betrayed, because Phil is Phil, innit? Is their friend. We've seen Phil on so
And
many
dude,
different podcasts.
I'll
He's
cut you
he's
off there.
everywhere.
Can I just say, how many times have I said on this show that he's a fucking liar? Not saying that in a
Well,
negative way. He says one thing and then does something completely different. I mean,
what it
just
what
look
it
at
sounds like? It
it's
sounds like he's
crazy.
yeah, it just sounds like he's in a situation where I don't think any other company has really been before. The competition with like the likes of Sony and even Nintendo is so great. They haven't really found their identity. Like PlayStation's got their identity, they've got their core games. Nintendo obviously has got their IPs, which are just getting ever more valuable. What has Xbox got? And in a world where the competition is now starting to accelerate into different forms of media and popularity, they don't have it. So I understand why they go directly to the consumer, on these podcasts, and making themselves accessible, just testing the market to see what people really want. But at the same time, they don't have the foundation that the competitors have. I mean, obviously we've seen the likes of Gears, Halo,
But
Hellblade, but these are all still babies, in
mm,
terms of branding, when
well,
you compare it
actually,
to the
let me.
competition.
I'm gonna throw back to you on that one, and I'll defend Xbox and say this: they've been around for 4 generations. They're only 1 generation younger than PlayStation. They came around during the PS2 generation, so they're not newbies to it. They've been here long enough. They've pushed evolutions forward, Microsoft have. And over those 4 generations, which is 20 years of Xbox, they've built franchises, they've acquired companies that have built IPs that are staple to Xbox. For PlayStation's Gran Turismo, you've got 2 versions of Forza. You've got Simulation, you've got Forza Horizon. You've got Halo, you've got Gears of War, you've got the new IPs you've built on here, which is Sea of Thieves and others. You've got your own fighting game in Killer Instinct. You've got so many IP, but look at what they've done with it. And that's the problem. You know, we hear stories about Phil Spencer and the culture then. Actually, Phil Spencer himself said, he goes, we don't fire or close teams down for poor business, you know? And I think, well, that's not a good practice from a management standpoint, because Sony are very strict and very lenient with their first parties in a sense of quality assurance. And look at the results. Nintendo, exactly the same. Look at the results. So what has gone wrong? Gears of War at one point, or that original trilogy, Gears was top 3 biggest IP in that genre in the world. Halo was the biggest shooter at one point in the world. Forza dominated a market where PlayStation gamers had to sit there for years waiting for Gran Turismo updates for the next Gran Turismo. The gap between Gran Turismo 3 and 4 and 4 and 5 was so crazy. They had to release a prologue for each one just to feed the need for Gran Turismo, you know? And then you look at all these other games, they just dropped the ball massively. And I felt like the ball was massively dropped between 360 and Xbox One, which is where Sony realized we effed up. We need to reevaluate and change our business model, right? And they did that. And how did they do that? They did that from within. They nurtured their teams, which we spoke about on this show. You know, that end of PS3 to PS4 life cycle, Sony really nurtured their first party development teams, and we saw the fruits of that towards the second half of PS4 with all the games. Last of Us Part 2, Ghost of Tsushima, God of War 2018, Spider-Man. You're looking at all these games. Microsoft just went out and we talked about it. They just start throwing money everywhere. And I said right from the start, Phil Spencer is not the guy to lead a gaming division. He's great if someone's above him leading it. He threw all these money at all these developers like Ninja Theory and Playdead and everybody else, or Play, whatever their name is. And there has been some good games, you know, that have come out. Grounded has come out, Sea of Thieves have come out, but where's the marketable success that sells consoles? Last of Us 2 sells consoles. God of War sells consoles. Ghost of Tsushima got new people to it. It's the fastest selling PlayStation IP from a first party studio, and it was a brand new original IP at the time. Spider-Man sells consoles. You know, Microsoft at one point were ahead of PlayStation at the beginning of 360 and PS3, and that drive and everything just disappeared. So I feel like they have had the franchises, they've just misused them so badly, you know, because here's the big point for you. I'll give you a perfect example. Gears of War, God of War, right? GOW, both hit their third games in their franchises, right? On PlayStation 3 and 360. What's next? Gears of War, new 4th game, has a subtitle to it. I think it was Judgment, I think.
Yeah,
I might be wrong. I'm not a Gears of War fan, but it's Gears of War Judgment. I think that was the name. God of War has its own one as well, right? God of War doesn't it has a decent Metacritic and it sells okay, but everyone thinks that's the end of God of War now because they didn't like the game. And then Gears of War was the same. So what happens at that point? Gears of War 4 goes into development. It's the same old, same old. God of War goes into development and is rebooted. And look at where God of War is now from that reboot. 2018's God of War at the time beat Red Dead Redemption to Game of the Year awards, which means that there's the difference in quality assurance and protecting an IP. And then it's just gone downhill ever since. You look at the state of Halo. Oh my God, we don't even want to go there. You know, I think, and the joking thing, I can't remember if I said it or you said it. We said the only thing that I think I said it a few weeks ago, actually, the only thing that would save Halo is bringing it to PlayStation and getting a new install base on it. And if it does well, then you build Halo 6. And that could potentially happen now. I just
I
think the
think,
misuse of IPs is a big thing for them because they had it
yeah,
all. They had the hand. They had their hand. They had the things that rival Sony, but then they just didn't use it. They just rested on their laurels towards the end of 360 and then thought they could buy third-party games like Tomb Raider and that to keep them
mm,
afloat, where Sony were just firing on all cylinders on PS4. And you saw the results of where we are now. And Phil Spencer himself said it in an interview. We lost the most important generation ever, which was the digital generation, which was a creation of a digital library, which was PS4 and Xbox One, because people won't leave their library now.
yeah.
But there's that additive, Alex. If you can't beat them, join them, right?
That's exactly what's happening, isn't it? And you're right. I think they should have invested more into their game, the narratives, which is what Sony doubled down on. I mean, in terms of like the like first-person shooters, like the action games, the sports game. I guess Xbox kind of had that, but Sony, the single-player experience is where they excelled in, and Xbox just didn't really develop that part. And yeah, I mean, even the franchise that you've mentioned, all of which just need like a massive refresh. And I was hoping that this was going to be the case this year. It just felt like, yeah, they knew they'd been kicked in the nuts. 2024 was supposed to be their year of redemption. We saw what they did with
And
their
dude,
version of their state of play, and that
but
seemed
then
all
but
right.
yeah, but this is the thing, like no communication. you
Mm,
you you foster and do well to engage with your community, but you've got to this is why I always say you cannot trust what they say. Everything that's happening in the court documents with the Activision buyout, FTC are now writing back to the court saying, well, we thought the reason the deal went through is you were told Microsoft and Activision was going to be run independently from Microsoft, and now Microsoft are cutting more and more jobs than ever. We talked about the 1,900 jobs, majority of which were at Activision Blizzard. Now they're
yeah.
doing Toys for Bob, which is also Activision Blizzard, and it's just like you
Mm,
say one thing and then do something else behind people's back, and we spoke
yeah.
about that in a sense of like Indiana Jones and Starfield being multi-platform in development and then being made exclusive to Xbox and getting taken away from PlayStation, which is fine. You have every right to do that. You own the bloody company. Do what the fuck you want with it, right? Just not Starfield, because I always wanted that. But
yeah.
Xbox come out in 2024 and they actually did well with that developer direct, because you were like, okay, now I see four big games.
Yeah.
Well, one that top-down isometric tactical game. It's not going to sell consoles, but Indiana Jones is selling consoles. Hellblade 2 is going to get you a lot of interest and get you critical success within the industry, right?
Yeah.
And you think, and Avowed, it's like, okay, that's another one of those games that it's going to do well when it comes
Mm,
out. It's going to get a lot of players on PC and Xbox, and it will sustain and keep console selling at a time where PlayStation just are keeping quiet because they don't need to talk. They do not need to talk because they're selling machines. So why do they need to talk?
mm.
And then you come out and say this, and I'm just like, whoa, what a it's above
Well,
Phil's pay grade. This is by a mile, and
it
we
is.
go,
It is.
and
But
then
he
you
didn't
can
say
reference.
anything. What did he actually say?
No, but
It's
what this
like,
is what I'm saying. It's like, why do the developer direct before this? Because you strengthen your community's resolve in the brand, because for some reason they feel the need to defend against their PlayStation equivalents, who also need to take the piss and defend and kick a man when he's down, which is what we've been seeing on the internet like crazy. I mean, I've seen people crying, and I'm just like, oh, jeez, Jesus,
yeah.
man, what is going on here? There's no point at the end of the day. But if I was Xbox, I would have made if this was the announcement, because obviously we talked about that. Is it Tim or Tom guy who said in an interview that we're looking at bringing Xbox to more platforms, and even in that court case with the FTC over the buyout, Microsoft CEO, I hate exclusives. I do not believe in them. It doesn't work. He said it himself, right? If I was
Mm,
Xbox, I come into the new year, I do this business update to piss everybody off the bat, get people worried, then do the developer direct a week later. because then you can turn around and say, yeah, these games, because we know that we don't know what they're going to say, but hypothetically, select Xbox first party games will come to PlayStation platforms, but they'll come to Xbox first. You've pissed everyone off already now, but now you do the developer direct, and now though your community can say that, oh, well, all these games are coming to PlayStation to Xbox first for a year on Game Pass. So that's not a big loss to us because we get it for a whole year of Indiana Jones absolutely free. Then you're going to pay $70 or £60 for it on PlayStation a year later. That would have softened the blow. But to do that, build up hope for what will look like a great year, because Microsoft never really come into a year and give you decent titles, what's coming out for the whole calendar year. And they did that. And then they dropped the bomb. And the only reason they dropped the bomb is because the leaks started happening and they had to say something. It's just, and then little things have been popping up like Game Pass. Now it's not even listed as Xbox Game Pass, it's Microsoft Game Pass, and it's just Microsoft are moving more and more. There's a lot to talk about there, Al, and still to unpack because there's rumors going on that they're still going to do hardware.
Well, it makes sense. I mean, until we've actually heard like an official word from them, you know what I mean? It's just a whole lot of naysay, which people are just running wild with. And obviously people
It's
feel
crazy,
really
dude. People
emotional.
are going to click. They're going to get things to click.
They're gonna, yeah, exactly. And like the thing is, like, we haven't really heard Xbox say, yes, this is what we're doing. These are all just leaked and rumors. So I do think that people just need to take a chill pill, take a massive step back.
Well, you were chatting to somebody and you said that there was you knew how internal people at Xbox department themselves had felt.
Yeah, well, they weren't actually aware, and that was the key thing from
That's
the
crazy.
internal. At least they were saying that everything that's happening is happening with the upper ups, I guess, people beyond their pay grade. But to them, they're not aware of any of this. So that being said, and basically what the official word from Xbox has been said is pretty much on the same page. We
Yeah, but
haven't
I
actually
think
heard anything, but it's leaks, and obviously there might be, there's no smoke without fire, right? And yeah, I think we've been, preaching the writings on the wall for Xbox for the longest time, and obviously listeners to the show would have known how we feel about it, and I guess it's echoed throughout the industry. But in terms of their overall strategy, I really think that this kind of plays straight into it.
they need
We've always
to.
heard
There's
this
nothing
has
else
always
left.
been exactly this has always been their plan. To me, when I heard this, I was like, that's nothing new. We've always heard rumors about them transitioning everything onto cloud. We've always knew that Game Pass is not really going to be very profitable for them. They're going to need to share their software and services with the
They need to
competitors.
recoup $68 billion.
They need to recoup 60. Well, they're doing that right now by firing a lot of staff. You know what I mean? So they'll be doing that, and obviously that $68 billion will be over like a decade. We're going to be going into the next generation. There's already rumors about them releasing 2 SKUs for their new hardware, which is supposed to be launched a bit earlier than
digital and hand. That's the rumor of a digital console powerful one and a handheld dock one, right?
To be honest, I mean, I've mentioned it before. It just makes sense that like competitors follow the hybrid market. Let's just say that. And I think Xbox is hearing it. Obviously, we might be talking about Sony about hearing it, and obviously Nintendo is at the forefront of it at the moment. And in terms of the way technology is right now, we've seen things like the ROG Ally, we've seen the Steam Deck. There's a lot of portable power out there now, and combine that with cloud, there's not really any need to have a dedicated hardware machine. Technology's advanced now, and I think companies are starting to think, long term now. Think, hold on, where can we actually save, our operation costs? I mean, where can we profit the most? And you can with servers. Servers are global. The internet's getting more stable, and it's only going to continue to roll out. Doesn't mean that they won't have the other option to have like an offline system, but I think this is pretty much playing into what Xbox is going to be doing, and I think they're going to be at the forefront of transitioning to that tech before the competitors. Will it work out for them? Who knows? But the key thing that they do have in their back pocket is the fact that they actually own the servers, they own the technology, and they're going to be more the likes of AMD. It won't be Nvidia because they're with Nintendo, but like AMD will be more inclined to work.
We're going to talk
Microsoft
about that in the rumor mill, mate, because at the moment nothing has been signed with AMD.
Nothing's been signed.
Nothing is signed. So it's just crazy.
Next week we'll see.
I want to know, like, if you are a gamer now and you're sitting there and you're thinking, what is going to happen next week? What's the best outcome for Microsoft going forward from a
Best
business
outcome
standpoint? What's the
is to
what's the absolute best in terms of they're gonna go multi-platform? How do they
they're going
do
to go
it?
multiplayer. The best thing they need to do is just to make sure they instill confidence that they're actually looking after their core audience, but they're also opening the door to new
Yeah, but what in
customers.
terms
That's
of
it.
IP? Like, what are they doing? Is it coming to? How are they doing it on Nintendo when they know a lot of these newer games won't run on the hardware? Because if the rumored specs of Switch 2 are PS4 graphics, which is amazing, because people like PS4. I'm like, did you see The Last of Us 2 and Ghost of Tsushima? It's a powerful machine, right? Not to
Yeah.
mention with modern day technology. But
Mm.
how do they do it? How do they do it?
Very easy. I mean, it depends on the engines. It goes down to the developers. You know, if everyone's using Unreal, then that's going to make things very scalable. And obviously, with the likes of Nvidia and their AI tech, which is rumored to be included in the likes of the Switch 2, and obviously systems, graphics cards going forward, it could work. You know, it could be a very easy world going forward. The
Do
benefit
you
of
go
AI, which
if you're
Microsoft is one of the forefront leaders of, though. You
if you're
know,
Microsoft, do you go do you take a hit and do everything you can to get Game Pass on Nintendo?
Game Pass on Nintendo.
And would Nintendo take it knowing
Ooh.
this is the thing? Everybody thinks that
You know what I think they would do?
no, but dude, here's the thing. Everybody thinks that Nintendo and Sony would jump at the chance to have Game Pass on their platform. But I always said to you, and I always say this, and I'll stick by it, it's a massive risk because for Nintendo and Sony, what they would essentially be allowing is introducing their core install base of PlayStation gamers and Nintendo gamers to a free service and what it could be like with a
It,
subscription if you just stick to
no,
it. And then it could switch them and stop them buying games altogether. We've seen it on Xbox where
yeah,
initially Game Pass is going to complement game sales. It's going to improve game sales. It's going to improve DLC sales. This is what the big thing Microsoft
no.
was. And then all we saw was a
This is
complete
what will happen.
cannibalism of
This is
Xbox
what will
sales.
happen. We're still thinking about the traditional sense of being a Game Pass as being, you know, that one subscription which fits all, right? If I was Microsoft, what I would do is obviously have like a different tier, you know, which would be just for Nintendo and Sony, which would be like Xbox X or something. I don't know, just like, but like the
Yeah, but
premium
I spoke
service
about it, a
still
bespoke
remains. Yeah,
service.
exactly. Yeah, exactly. Just the premium service stays on Xbox, and obviously Nintendo and Sony will have a cut of everything going through, and it obviously wouldn't have access to the whole catalog
But
because it wouldn't make sense
but
because of
but this is
conflicting
it.
games.
But if you're Nintendo now, what you've done is, oh, you think Microsoft are not gonna detail what's available in that premium service? If you, oh, I've got a Switch here and I'm playing a bespoke Game Pass, whereas for the same price or a few quid more,
It'll
I
get
can get
messy.
more games. I can
It'll
get
get it'll
more.
get
That's what
yeah,
I'm
yeah.
saying. It's like
It get
whereas
really messy.
this is what I'm saying. Like I think
But they won't
if
they
I'm
won't do that.
Nintendo,
I don't see that. They'll probably just release the games as we know, like, well, okay, it'll be exclusive on Xbox services for a year or 18 months or whatever, and then they just release like a game of the year
I think
edition.
they'll go day and date, dude. I think they'll go day and date. I think they would have looked at because
Not on
they've
everything.
got the data there. Sony's got the data, Nintendo's got the data, Microsoft have the data to see how it does. Sony has
Yeah.
MLB the Show running on multi-platform. They see the data on its sales. We've seen now MLB never leaves the MPD from the moment it's launched to the end of the year.
Yes.
It's always in
Um,
there now.
yeah.
Even though it's on Game Pass, it's still in that top 20. Microsoft have the data via Minecraft, going day and date with Minecraft Legends compared to releasing Ori and the Blind Forest a year after launch or 2 years after launch on Nintendo Switch. They would have seen the
Mm,
data, right? You just, and we talk about it, video games are like movies, right? You make 80% of your revenue in the first 2 weeks. If I'm Xbox, the rumor is that, okay, Starfield's going to get an expansion and then it comes to PlayStation. Why is that? Simple reason. If you were to just release Starfield now, people will be like, sell couple of 100,000, maybe 1 million copies at best.
mhm.
Get it back into the, I hate this word, zeitgeist. Get it back into the mind share with the DLC. Release it on PlayStation day and date, but it's the whole pack, which is the game and the DLC together. So it's like a brand new big launch for
Mm,
both formats, you
yeah, yeah.
know? So I think as we saw with Minecraft, I think they'll actually go day and date with almost anything going forward. Whereas the historical games now, up until end of 2024, there will be that exclusivity. Blade, for example, the amount of money sitting on the table if you go day and date with that game on PlayStation and Xbox and PC. You're talking Spider-Man money here, and I'm sure Marvel would have said, yeah, you're going multi-platform with this game.
Yeah, day and date would make sense. They get paid either way. It keeps the Xbox fans happy, it keeps us happy, you know.
Well, does it keep the Xbox fans happy? Because they ain't happy at the moment and nothing's
Well,
even
they
happened
will,
yet.
because they won't be paying any extra. We will be paying for them.
Well, I mean,
So I
if I
guess
could take a slide
that
dig, there'll be
works.
PlayStation fans by then, innit? There'll be
Exactly.
PlayStation
Yeah,
gamers by
yeah.
then.
But then again, at the same time, they'll be like, well, at least they'll be able to take advantage of the games while they're
Well, you look at
um
Nintendo. You
while
spoke
they're
about the
hot.
future of the industry. Nintendo released their financial numbers the other day, and they actually turned
Mhm.
around and said, along with other people, that hardware is going to grow to 7 billion in revenue in the next 10 years, and the importance of hardware being there because as fast and as forward as we want to go with technology, the bulk of people are not there yet at all. So hardware is still essential for a lot of the population around the world, and I think Xbox see that at the moment, hence why they still want to release new machines because they don't want to let go yet because there is still a market there. Because I spoke about this a few weeks ago. Your core console Game Pass players will want to play via Xbox. That's why I don't think Game Pass is moving anywhere. I think Game Pass, as you said, will stay on Xbox. That's what's the big hunch on the new machines. And I just think they'll turn around and they'll say, yep, it's free on Game Pass and it's coming out on PlayStation, $60 or $50, Nintendo Switch, whatever.
Yeah. Yeah,
Unless Switch 2
exactly.
has a cartridge as well, and then it becomes $70 again if it's another cartridge on there. But I
Well, it's gonna
mean,
be digital, isn't it? So
it's
as
mad,
well, they
dude.
have a digital SKU. It is. But
It's
yeah,
mad.
it could go anywhere. It could anywhere. But obviously at the end of the day, they want to maximize their profits. I don't think that the brand is going anywhere. You know what I mean? So I do think that the Xbox fans can like rest easy. But they will be a lot more diverse going forward,
Well, we
which is
will
good.
make sure we record this episode after the business update event next week.
Yeah, I'm playing.
And then we can talk
Get the
about it.
predictions in.
Oh, mate. Yeah, let's do a prediction. I predict historical games are coming to PlayStation, and then it's hard because they won't talk about future games. If they're gonna say it in detail, the games that are already out will come to PlayStation slowly. And then future games like 2025 onwards will be day and date, but they won't say that because that's future. I
Yeah, I
just kind
think
of
they'll
I
probably
just
do
want to
like a
see.
quarter. They'll probably give it like a quarter, like a quarter head start. Yeah, it's 3 months after it'll be released on everything else. To
Four
keep the
games.
momentum.
4 games I
Four
want to see.
games.
There's 4 games I want to see, right? In
Mm,
fourth, I want to see the Gears of War franchise remade and coming to PlayStation
yeah,
because there's a rumor that it's being remade for Xbox, right?
yeah. Yeah.
Halo Master Chief Collection, so I can play the whole campaign. I don't want to play the multiplayer. I just want to play the campaign on PlayStation. Starfield is at number 2. I want Starfield to come. And at number 1, ladies
Mm,
and gentlemen, of course, it's Indy. I want Indiana Jones, baby. I just love the fact that I could talk about it. I kept saying to you and I kept joking to you, oh yeah, I'll play it when it comes to PlayStation. I'll play it when it comes to PlayStation. And you laughed and laughed and laughed and ha ha ha. Ha. Yeah, baby.
yeah, it's coming. It's good. Well,
Most
yeah,
importantly, I think the
it
best way to
makes sense.
close this video is it's a great time to be a gamer. You know, that's it.
Yeah. Oh, that's another thing as well. If speaking about being a great time to be a gamer, this is why Xbox has to survive because the last thing we want is for that brand to die.
And Sony get
Because if it
cocky.
does, Sony will get cocky, Sony will get lazy, and like they will just
They'll
destroy
raise
the
the
game
prices,
industry.
mate.
They'll raise the prices, and Sony will now be the bad guy in the industry, and everybody would hate them. So and Nintendo's obviously not going to be included in the conversation because they've already exited in terms of the horse race in terms of tech. But yeah, come on, Xbox, come out with some confidence for the industry and show that you're supposed to be there. I mean, they've just spent 68 billion, so I don't think they just did that just to walk away and just forget their fans. So I just think they're really looking more towards the next generation. They know that
That'll
they've
be
stumbled twice,
fucking
and
hilarious.
going forward, it should be a stronger Xbox brand, I believe.
It will be fucking like I've seen the memes online of like Phil Spencer in a PlayStation shirt in front of a PlayStation screen, and you see that PlayStation logo with all the first party stuff, and Phil Spencer's in one of the slides. But I'll just love it if like fucking Jim Ryan or someone was on the stage with him. I think it'd be fucking hilarious.
Yeah,
And
they need
Jim
to
was
get
like, "I
Nintendo on there
told
as
you,
well.
you
Yeah,
may have
yeah.
won the battle, but you lost the war," innit? Like in terms of like that trial and all that stuff. But
Yeah, but I think it's gonna be all right, man. They'll be fine. They need to. They've got no choice, you know. The amount of data that they're grabbing. Why would they give that all up?